So nervous, man. Oh my god, just moving it a little bit. Oh my god. Oh. Wow. That is way brighter than I thought it'd be. Oh my god. It's so funny. I've seen your videos, obviously, and you see the people that come out like this, and they get all emotional, and part of me was always like, well, of course they're emotional. It's like a castaway. They've been rescued, you know. And now that I'm here, it's not that at all. It's more of a you know, you likened. I'm sorry, I have to keep my eyes closed for just a little bit longer. You likened kind of this whole experience to, in some ways, going to your deathbed, which was pretty intimidating. But in some ways, I feel like that was the easy part. It's this re-emerging. You know, that's the hard part.
Because it feels more like, you were saying you thought it was the castaway, but it's more like,
yeah, it's just more of this just new eyes, new beginning thing. And like, whereas, you know, going in felt limited. You know, it's like I knew that it was only going to be so much time, right? But with this, it's like it's now endless. Well, you know, there's, you know, and so it's a little bit more intimidating, I think, in some ways. But I feel ready for sure, even though I'm sitting here with my eyes closed still, just because it's more of adjustment than I thought it'd be. Oh my god. What a moment. I forgot my glasses. It's funny, I haven't needed those for the past 3 days. I forgot I even wore them. So I'm coming out, I'm like, oh wow. Things are, yeah. Wow. What a journey. It's so funny, man. Like you know, as I told you, I came in seeking nothing. I'm not like, you know, I don't meditate. Like I got the free trial of Headspace once. You know, you know, I do yoga to like, very limited yoga to like stay limber for ski season. That sort of stuff. And I came in just curious, you know, like, what can this experience do? Oh. Sort of found that out. You know, just it's funny the different stages that you go through. You know, the first being like when I went in, man, I was scared. I was definitely scared. You know, I told Adrian, I was like, I felt like a balloon being pulled underwater. You know, that the darkness was going to be this like suffocating, like a garbage bag, you know, just like that was going to be like. And I remember blowing out that candle that first night, and just then the enormity of it all hit me, and I was just like, oh my god, what are you doing? What are you doing? You know, and the funny thing is the door's right there, the light switch is right there, you know, and I just, you know, I was like, nope, you're just gonna, you were great, man, and like coaching me through that, just soften into it. And so that was sort of like a thing I would just go back to, is like just soften into it. You know, and the first thing was like, well, what's important to you? And that became pretty clear. And then as time progressed, it got much more deeper and deeper, and as it just closer to your being, you know. When do you have time to like just sit with yourself? Like, I feel like, especially in my job, I'm just constantly getting beamed with information, you know, getting fed information, and constantly seeking information and that sort of stuff. And the thing that's just so amazing is, and I told you this yesterday, but it's still, I've yet to fully integrate it back into myself, but is it that sense of absolute wonder, you know. I've had it my whole life, you know, like from very young, you know. I remember just being so like amazed by things and curious about things, and to the point that friends would be like, dude, ease up with the questions, and I'd be like, I'm just getting started, you know. Like, we haven't even got to the big questions yet. And I didn't realize until sitting in there, just how like everything, it just gets, things get packed on top of it, you know, and it's still there, but just gets buried. And in there I was able to like just shed all that, and all of a sudden on day 3 it came shining back all of a sudden, and I was like, oh my god, I remember you. Because an argument broke out in my head. I was like trying to do one thing, like trying to impregnate that space, as you said, you know, with things, with affirmations and things that, you know, that I just, you know, that I matter, that life is wonderful, that, you know, just all these things I was trying to fill that space with. And this voice would come in and start like nagging about something, and this fight broke out in my head, and it boiled down to like kind of a, well, who was here first kind of argument. And man, that was like, that's what did it for me, because once I was like, well, that space was there long before I had any words to describe it, or to like put on top of it, you know, to imprint, as you said, which is such a great way of thinking about that, to imprint upon that space. And as soon as I acknowledged that space has always been there, was there first, then man, it just like, it just exploded. It was just like, it was just waiting for me to acknowledge that. And it was sort of like a cork in a champagne bottle, just like, and then all of a sudden the champagne was just free to like be again, or whatever, you know. And it just became all consuming, and I could feel it like in every, I could still feel it, every like little inch. I was just filled with that space, and the thing that was so magical about that space, and I hate the word magical, I don't use that word, but the thing that was magical about that whole thing was that it was sort of like the dark. It was there, it was mine, it was there, and I could do whatever I wanted with it. It was there. It's not like it was like there with me. It was like we were in partnership, you know. And so I realized I was like free to come back to that place anytime. And like another image I had was like, you know, being a Gen X, maybe, you know, there were these toys we'd get where you could like write on the plastic. It was like a plastic sheet over like a sticky rubber black thing, and you could write on it, and if you didn't like it, you could just like and then start again. And that's exactly what it felt like. It was like, wait a minute, you know, like I can like go back anytime, and if there's, you know, I don't have to be grouchy anymore. I don't have to be, you know, my fuse doesn't have to be so short. I don't have to be irritable. I don't have to be impatient. All of those things just like, you know, I mean, I don't want to write off emotions. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying it's sort of like what Adrian said. It's like you can it's how you relate to them. Or maybe, I think you said that too. It's like how you relate to those emotions. That's just become so much more clear. And it's, you know, it's thanks to that space. And the dark for me definitely went from this suffocating garbage bag to this, it was definitely a presence. You know, it's just so funny to hear me say, like, did I really just say that? You know, but it did, you know, and it has a name. The thing that scares me now, that this emotion here now, is like, I didn't mean to lose my sense of wonder, you know? Maybe just inattention, just let all the other stuff fall upon it. And I don't want to lose that. I don't want to lose that again, you know? I realized in there, you know, I'm in love with things that cannot last, because they're both frustrating and beautiful in that same way, you know? And I knew that the darkness wouldn't last. And so in a way I fell in love with it. And now that it's gone, like, don't get me wrong, like, I'm very happy to be out. And so like looking forward to living, like really living, and not like filling my days with crap, you know. And I know that's gonna happen. But like now I just feel like, it's so funny, man. I can't believe I'm saying these things. But it's so yeah, I just hope this lasts. I won't talking to the dark now, but I won't forget you. Thank you. I found, you know, I came here to do a story. In a way, you know, I told you this yesterday, that I came here to do a story, but I found my own, which I was definitely not expecting that. Rather, it's not that I found my own story, it's rather I found like a whole book full of blank pages, you know? It's like, you know, obviously this is, you know, my whatever brain saying, you know, obviously this is just the tool, right? It's like a university. Like the learning doesn't, the university isn't the learning. The learning is what you bring to the university, how you interact with the university. And this is just the university, right? It's sort of what you come into it with, I guess, and how you sort of relate to it and interact with it. I think there's now this fire in me that's like, I'm not gonna, there have been days where I've been like, it's been so hard for me to just get out of bed, you know, in the before times, let's call it, or just, you know, just getting out of bed just seems so overwhelming. Like all of the day just seems so overwhelming, and if I could just stay here in bed, it would be okay. And in some ways, like I really related to that in there, and in some ways it was such a relief just to sit there and just, I remember like I'd get up and I tried to keep some semblance of a routine. Like I'd wake up not really knowing what time it is and try to make the bed as best as I could, and like, you know, get dressed, you know, go brush my teeth. And then I was like, now what? You know, it's like that was my day, you know? And in some ways that was a relief. And then as the journey progressed, I realized like there's not going to be a day now where I don't like, hopefully, that I don't just jump right out of bed and just be like, okay, here we go, world, what you got? You know? So I feel like I know how to handle most things now. I feel like I have the tools now to like, it's not the tools, that's not the right way. I feel like I know the path. You know what I mean? I feel like it's like once you've sort of, it's like a backflip, I guess. Like once you sort of like know the motion, like you don't have to think about it anymore. You just know it's there, and you can just almost conjure it. So I really, really, really really hope that's true.
Why?
And this is going to sound like nihilistic or something, and it's totally not that. But what I learned is that who I am is nothing and everything. Nothing is everything. And again, I can't believe I'm saying these things, man. Like, yeah. But it's so, I just, it's different when you, it's different saying it than feeling that, than having it just course through you and just, it's not like I became some sort of like cosmic being, like floating through time and space, like checking out nebulas or something. It wasn't that at all. It was just this like total loss of so it sounds so contradictory, but total loss of self to become yourself, you know? And it's just a it's a remarkable thing, man. Right? Like my daughter, she comes in, she's like, oh, you're bored. I'm bored. You know, and she could read a book, she could take the dog for a walk, she could go visit a friend, she could do all these things, but none of them sound fun, right? That's trying to pass the time. But if you take all of those things away, literally, like you can't even look at a blank wall. You can't even stare at a blank wall, you know? Then you just completely clear-cut boredom's habitat. It just has nothing to exist in anymore. And what happens then is you don't pass the time. You just let time pass. And just sort of that letting go is like, so I wasn't bored in there once until I started trying to get in my 10,000 steps, and I was like, oh my god, this is boring. What are you doing? You know? And once that happened, once that space consumed me, then all these other things started happening as well. And but the wonder one, that was the one that like, that's the one that just like, you know, like, it's so funny when you find something that you didn't really realize was lost, you know? It's sort of like, makes you wonder like how many other things are like that, you know? Am I doing that with love? I mean, I think I have love, you know? Before coming in here, I would have said I definitely know love. But now I'm wondering if it's gotten packed on with all these other things I've forgotten just what it's like just to like, just beam love with no expectation whatsoever. Yeah. That's the other thing I felt like. I felt like I have this light in me now that is just like ready to just shine. And you don't have to do anything with it. You being the person that's being shined upon. You know, I hope I don't annoy you with that. You know, I'm not expecting you to return that. I'm not expecting you to do anything with it. This is just me, man. I've just got this force in me now that's ready to do nothing other than to just be. You know, to my mainstream friends, I would say, you know, if this is something that you think that you have in you that's feeling maybe lost, or that you know is there but you can't quite put your finger on it, or you're curious, you're just curious about the experience, you know, and you're open, like you said, you know, 3 days can feel like a long time, especially when you blow that candle out and the weight of what's about to happen, you know, becomes very real. It's no longer just this like, oh, thing I'm gonna go do. You're in it, you know. But to those friends, you know, who have that in them, who, you know, might respond to what I'm saying, then I would say, this might be something for you. It's gonna be hard, there's no doubt. but you're fully capable of it. And if you just lean into the experience and just soften and just it's funny, man, I can feel it again. It's so raw still, so raw. Then, you know, this may not look like it's worth it, but I promise you, it will give you new paths for sure. I wish I could convey this. You know, as a writer, I feel like my job is to go out among the world, and as a friend at my wedding said, like, go twinkle among the stars and then orbit back and kind of tell everybody sort of what's out there and things that they could be doing. And I can tell them about this experience, sure, but I can't give them that feeling, you know, that fullness that just like literally like makes your chest just open up. You have to do that yourself, I think. But I feel like, you know, if I could do this, you know, I wonder who else can, you know? I think you would have to be actually, I don't know who wouldn't respond to this now that I think about it. It's like, you know, I'd like to say I'm gonna eat all my meals with my eyes closed now, but I think my family and dining partners would be like, dude, we're never eating with you again. You know? It was wild, man. For a room full of nothing and for nothing happening, so much happens. So much happens, man. It's crazy. This thing that's also so important, I think, is like having that day before you go in. I'm realizing now just how important that day was to me, because again, I say nothing to do, right? And now I'm like, oh my God, dude, you had so much to do, you know, but like just that day to like shed all that stuff. And just, I think I spent most of that day just sitting in that gravity chair, which is, by the way, the most wonderful thing ever. That and the little ball. Just sitting there, just like doing nothing, just practicing doing nothing. And of course, I'd get bored and be like, okay, I gotta go for a walk. And I'd go for a walk and then talk to the kids or whatever. And then come back and just be like, okay, I gotta sit in the chair again. And now I'm realizing that was sort of like getting on deck. You know what I mean? Like practicing your swing a little bit. And now though, you know, after the session with Adrian, I feel like almost I need to do that again, but just kind of in the opposite. Like I need to sit there and just like, just feel that feeling again. You know, just like, just keep touching it, you know, and just let the world just slowly sleep in. Like now I can see, now I can talk. Or rather, I can be heard. I guess that's more important. And so slowly work my way back into that. It's the relating to the emotion. That's the thing, man. That was the thing that was like the big key for me. It was just like, you can feel sadness. Feel sadness. Let it consume. Let it flow through you. But it's how you relate to that. You know, it's how you sort of like. And once you do that, how you can sort of then. You can almost hold the sadness, you know, and then it doesn't seem so, once you can hold something, it doesn't seem so boundless. It doesn't seem so, you can like run your hands around its edges a little bit and you can be like, oh, this is sadness, you know, and doing that then creates space for other things to come in that maybe help you with that sadness, help you grow from it, or help you like put it into perspective or realize like that wasn't really worth being sad over actually at all, you know, whatever.